going to say, like, some of you could be at another conference from a platform with a red button, and you decided to be here. You're smart enough to know that you don't need to spend on one platform. So well done to you all. I guess in 2024, Gartner, the research study body, actually stated that after a research with marketers, that budgets would fail by 15% versus the year prior. This takes marketing budgets from 11% of overall revenue pre-pandemic to only 7.7% this year. So yes, you, me, everyone, we need to do more with less. This idea got us thinking. Most marketers, most brands are actually advertising everywhere, all the time, on most channels. But very rare are actually the ones that are activating in a very holistic fashion, like strategizing how every single message shows up in the customer journey in a very smart and connected way, managing frequency, managing sequencing of messaging to actually drive performance. So the question came, like, how do we actually drive that? And that's how this alchemy of omnichannel came about. We decided to research the topic with the aim to basically connect the dot, prove and find the proof points. Could connected omnichannel campaigns bring efficiencies in budget, improvements in performance, and importantly, bring an enhanced experience for customers? Super interesting, right? So how did we do that? We actually used technology, of course. We recruited a panel, and we also recruited a number of brands to actually come into a research lab, and those panelists spent about 3 hours with us and got to be exposed to many different channels. When I say channels, I'm talking about CTV, I'm talking about online video, display, out of home, and audio. So really an omnichannel campaign in situ and being researched. What those lovely panelists did not know is that they were broken up into 2 different groups. One group had what we would say, a multi-channel approach, which most brands do, and the other group had an omni-channel cohesive approach, where we actually thought about the sequencing of the messaging from a channel to another. We manage frequency, and we reduce the ad fatigue as much as possible. The result of this is a very thorough study that looks at a number of metrics using neurotechnology to actually measure the impact of those campaigns comparatively to between the 2 groups. There is a number of metrics and insights in that survey and that research that I cannot share here. We need 3 hours, and you probably don't have that. But you'll have a QR code in a second to actually download this. The key highlights here, as you can see, is that on every single key metric, whether you think about branding association, messaging, breakthrough, getting the attention from the audience, or actually driving intent, when we are actually connecting the dots from a channel to another and think and execute the campaign cohesively, strategically, the output is actually major. And we did this with many brands, some local, some global, all activating omni-channel. So now to talk a little bit more about omnichannel, I would like to welcome Maria Godino, who's media and data lead at Unilever. Please bring your hands together. All right. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, cool. Awesome. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you.
First and foremost, can you just do a simple intro? Who you are, what do you think about those results, any big surprises? And we had a bit of a chat about your reality at the moment. Would love for you to share what that reality looks like.
Cool. Hi, everyone. Very happy to be this side of the audience this time. I always come to this conference and look for interesting insights. I hope you feel the same. after our chat today. I'm Maria. I lead digital marketing and data for the Unilever ANZ team. So I work across all categories or brands that Unilever executes in this market. I'm from Argentina. I've been in this role for 3 years, but I work in Unilever at different capacities, different roles in different markets throughout my life. And I feel like my reality is probably very similar to what everyone is experiencing at the moment. But I come from Latin America, so it's less terrible than it was now. There is a lot of uncertainties around budgets. There is a lot of a lot of changes on the economy, interest rates, cost of commodities, CPIs, negotiations. So that's my day-to-day environment, and my role works in connecting that with what we go and execute on market, because as you hopefully have seen, we have an amazing innovation pipeline that we have to support with our media investments. So our launch of Whole Body, our launch of Wonder Wash for Omo, great innovation in the skin cleanse category that needs to be supported, but also has challenges when execution and general consumption. So yeah.
How many brands are you working across?
Well, 5 categories, soon to be 4. I'll say around 16, 17 brands.
Yeah, that's a good sigh. You know, like, ooh. P.S. I just realized you put like 2 people with an accent towards the end of the afternoon. Is that to keep everyone's attention?
Yeah.
Like, well done, the IAB. Very, very smart. Maybe I should start talking like this a little bit.
I mean, I don't know if I can fake my accent.
Cool, thank you so much. So the research is about, and actually I should give you all access, bring your phone out. This is your opportunity to download the report. When we talk about omnichannel, I feel like we have our own definition, and I kind of like touched on it, but like at Unilever, I'm assuming you try to, I guess, agree on a terminology on a number of things. What do you think it means, I guess, for you? Does it mean the same for everyone in the business? Is there kind of like layers to that cake? How does it work?
So omnichannel, but we call it omni, is a very sales-driven term. So it's the omni team actually sits on the decom space, and they work on sales, mostly like sales, shopper, retail media, in the retail media space, because their main sort of like remit or the main reference that we have for that is to connect that experience that you have on the physical shop and in the online shop. So that's the general sort of like reference, that when we say omnichannel at Unilever, that's what we mean. We mean
like consumer experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's like shopper experience through the line, probably. From my perspective, from a media perspective, and from a digital perspective, we think omnichannel sort of like as a default, because the sales, because our like the high frequency that creates that mental availability happens mostly on a shop, and that's a physical shop. So the shopper experience is very present when we go and define omnichannel, I guess. It's really interesting that you call this research omnichannel, because the first time that I read it, I thought like, interesting, the trade desk, like jumping on retail media, bringing the consumer experience, that I completely understand what you mean. I feel like we mean the same, but from a different sort of like perspective.
I almost feel like if you bring the physical store into it, my head goes into what matters to you all, like first-party data and things that you can ingest in a platform. But that means that, you know, often when we think about omnichannel and media planning, we start with media insights, right? Like Kantar was on stage a second ago. We look at those insights and try to apply that. But from your standpoint, if you're looking about the shopper experience, you probably look at a whole bunch of different insights, right?
Yeah, we work, retail media, it's a big part of our work. It's a big part of my role, and I think Hope is here, who work quite a lot with me on the retail media space. The way that we see it is with collaboration with retailers. That sometimes is easier, sometimes it's more difficult, but all the technology that we get to enrich that omni experience with their data, our data, and partner data from sort of like from a media perspective, it's also, or from like a zero-party data perspective, it's also very interesting to build that total journey that we want to build with our campaigns.
Which is a good learning for everyone in the room, right? Whether you own data because you own the point of sale or you don't, ultimately data ends up being at the core of the entire thing, right? Like from planning to execution the whole way through.
100%, and that's the challenge. Like, how do we bring all of those multiple data points into a cohesive consumer experience, like into a cohesive brand experience? So that's something that I work a lot, like ingesting in our annual planning, ingesting in our quarterly planning. How do we ensure that a consumer has a seamless experience across most of the touch points? How do we sort of like bring that into the conversation? Because we come from like an experience on marketing. Like if you ask anyone at Unilever, if you ask someone that doesn't work on marketing, what's the marketing slide? They will say, okay, it's this slide where you have like the brand in the middle and then you have like all the channels around, like a 360 type of slide. And we need to move from that idea of like a brand going and like copy pasting an ad across the different placements into telling a story, into like building a story that helps us to like connect the dots.
Speaking of building a story, I thought like for the purpose of today and to drive you to download that research and dive into it, we'd share some insights from audio. Some of the key points on audio here, it really facilitates short and long-term memory building. In an omnichannel campaign, audio like really hits the emotional point. It allows you to actually connect with the brand and actually helps all of the other channels to better connect and to better impact the consumer. If we, in the context of us all, hopefully believing in not multi-channel but in omni-channel, you know, from a DSP perspective, having channels being brought together and thought through together and optimized, very importantly, optimized holistically, because you understand what's happening at the end point. We think it's the way to go, but like, you're not a DSP. How do you look at, you know, you have a brand and you have, you know, an objective and a campaign and a messaging and a consumer shift that you're going to drive. How do you talk to the village of agencies that you work with, your internal partners, and has that shifted? P.S. I know it shifted because we spoke about this before, but I'm keen to hear about it.
Yeah, something that I love from the research on the audio space is that at some point you said that when the ad is well integrated into the podcast or into the audio collaboration, it actually performs better. So that's what we want to achieve. We want to we don't want to just interrupt people when we go and put our brands like in front of someone. We have this global sort of like new mantra that is like, we want to create desire at scale. So we want our brands to be desirable, to people to buy them, and also to share that they buy them, and to be proud of like having a Dove skin cleans product on their bathroom and creating that. So that's something that we are looking to. Like we are thinking of opportunities to earn that attention, to earn and to build that desire. And to do that, it's really important that we connect our agencies in the right way. So working with like a well-connected agency village that it's thinking together from each of the disciplines on how do they go and implement the different parts of our campaign is really important. So we embed that from the beginning of our planning process. We brief everyone together. We get everyone excited on an annually basis. Then all the response are holistic. So the agencies collaborate with each other in each of the gates of the planning process. And then before sort of like entering into the into the final media booking, so the final media plan or the content production, we have a big session where we sit all together and we map this experience that we want the agencies to build. So I feel like from a planning perspective, we have like everything that we can do, like we do it in place. But it's a challenge in execution. Executing these campaigns is way more complex than go and roll out a TV ad that comes from global, and then you have to change the voiceover. Like, sometimes I watch Mad Men and feel like jealous of those guys. Like, it was so easy. Execution is a challenge, and cost of execution and cost of assets, and making sure that those like journeys are correctly mapped. But when we do it well, we see good results. We just roll out a campaign with Dab, where we did all of this work, and we saw increased ad recall, increased lift and brand favorability, and purchase intent. So we know it works, but it's complex. It's more complex to execute. So research like the one that you guys did help me to have the proof points to sell the dream into the people that have to approve for us to pay more hours on an agency, or to convince the agency that it's the agency village that it's important to execute this way.
This is great. I feel like everyone in the room would be working with brands, and I don't know how many of your customers, advertisers are telling you, I just had an extra 100% budget for this year. It just doesn't happen, right? The more with less is not going to disappear, go away. This is our reality. It's forever our reality. You should be proud of yourself. You're investing in yourself, not your knowledge being here. And I think part of the solution to me is kind of like leaning in the hard, right? Like, to your point, there are solutions, there are opportunities to actually deliver a bigger output. But sometimes it's complicated, it's more sophisticated. You actually need to create sophisticated solutions and infrastructures and redesign the way you actually brief, work with your agency, execute, measure, but it's doable. And on the other side is uplift of performance, uplift of result. Let's be super practical. When we talk about designing experiences, like, again, shameless plug, this is like probably the most important slide of the entire deck, but it's like super, super small, but it's just a teaser. It actually talks to you about like actually how do you connect audiences based on moments. So we're not saying every channel is doing everything, sorry everyone, but we actually help you to understand if you want to drive X, Y, and Z output, these are the channels and these are the moments to actually engage with them. And that's done through research, which is pretty amazing. But staying on the practical side of things, I remember one of the first things you said to me when we started talking about omnichannel, your first word was process, which, to be honest, I don't know about you, but really surprised me. I was like, process, omnichannel, how those two come together? Why is it so important to you?
I mean, I think it's important because if not, we end up on just a dream. Like, I work on execution. Like, I deliver results every day. Every quarter, I need to prove that we are delivering. So building a process that enables proper execution is fundamental for us. And that allows us to sort of like break the silos, go into execution, build our agencies, execute, collect results, and put the results back into the business to keep on convincing that this is actually worthy, that it's actually worthy to go and generate a more cohesive, like a more complex but cohesive story that builds better brand lifts, that builds better results with our audiences, versus just rolling out an asset and having a reach and frequency space. So yeah, I think that's really important.
Cool. Hopefully we're going to have some questions from the audience. But think about it, look around, you have publishers, vendors, measurement bodies, they all want your business. They do.
I know.
They do. What is the one thing everyone needs to stop doing when they come talk to you?
This was not in the script. I think it's just like we need to start proving effectiveness, really. Like, like there are so many vendors, so many ways to execute stuff that we just need to go and say this is working and this is not working. I am from Latin America. I'm very straightforward. So if you want to sell me, and I don't have a lot of time. So if you want to tell me, like, if you want to sell me something, like, it needs to be very straightforward from the outset. It's like, there are many things that sound amazing, but actually, they are very like they're almost impossible to execute. Like we need to go and execute. I need the quick wins to convince people that we can deliver. So I think it's that. It's very connected to what you said on process. Like I'm focused on process because I'm focused on getting things done and making things real. And I feel like, especially in the digital space, and I have that background, we've been selling dreams of things. Like, I don't know, when I was starting, it was, I don't know, DMPs were a thing, I think, for the FMCG consumption, and that was just a dream, and it couldn't roll out. So yeah, how do we actually sell something that it's doable and that will bring results, and those results will be translated to a business?
Cool. I will finish with what you said as an audience. Like the thing that is the most important is driving business outcome, and that's what you're talking about. Like measurement is critical, and we believe that data is at the core of this, and hopefully this research is actually enabling you to have the conversations with your boards or with your teams on how multi-channel should probably move to omnichannel. You have the output, it drives performance. And if you want to hear more, there's an entire Trade Desk team to help you and share that research. Maria, thank you so much for sharing your insights, and thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
You've got a question?
Oh, we have. We haven't got a question, no. But I can ask one. Now then. Oh, yeah, sorry. Well, I thought this was my little segment. Now it is my own segment. So was there was a neuro insights element to the research?
The entire research is neuro insights.
Oh,
so if you saw that little...
I haven't actually downloaded the report.
With that little helmet thing.
What was the sample size?
It's about 30 people. So it's a very small one because, as you can imagine, it is relatively pricey. But we've done the hard work for everyone. This is what an example of what people were wearing to actually measure the neuroelectrical activity on the brain, which allows us to translate that from that to actually memory encoding and ad recall and intent and breakthrough.
So whilst that's not a new approach, it feels slightly new for a DSP in a certain extent. Is this something you're going to do more of? I mean, were there sort of enough serendipitous findings for you to think, right, this is definitely an area of further investment is required?
I don't know if we're going to do exactly the same thing, because I feel like we went out to prove a hypothesis that we had, and we kind of like, the data is actually showing what we expected to see. So are we going to do more research? Yes, 100%. Answering the same question, I would assume not, but I'll be probably proven wrong at some point. I'm looking at my colleagues over there. They're like, yeah, it's coming. And I don't know. So I doubt, but research, for sure. Like, we are aiming at making everyone smarter and making smarter decisions by having more data points, right? And we know the conversations often can be very tricky for brands with their boards, with their procurement team, with their CFO, on getting out of certain channels that are closer to the point of sale, search, for example. And so those stakeholders have to have data points to actually defend going up a funnel and defending how those channels actually have an impact on sale in the end.
Thank you very much.
Always fascinating things from you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank